Chapter 14. Jason, his army along the banks of the River Rhone, is on foot looking at the natural bridge. The eastern bank of the river is an 80-foot cliff that borders the river in the plain of Albuquerque. Aliana and Katrin are beside him. From there, a steep man-made road leads to the western plain of Albuquerque. Jason marvels for a moment, then pulls Aliana close.
The second sign. You're sure of the timing?
Yes, I'm sure. The events that are to shape the second sign are already beginning to take place far out in the Atlantia.
Jason looks below him at the numberless soldiers of the western cities that stand poised for battle.
What if they refuse to believe the warning I sent them? Would Uriah will it that so many should die for peace to prevail?
Uriah has nothing to do with it, other than to warn of its occurrence. If you were not here, it would make no difference. Other than that, these soldiers would be inside their city walls. But even then, Palomas, Sierra, Andrewsville, and Arapache would suffer many casualties, for they are all within 5 miles of the river.
Can't you use lasers? Not to kill, but to frighten them into returning home?
It wouldn't help. Their only chance is to evacuate to the mountains. The walls and most of the buildings will be covered by 40 feet of water. If they do not heed your warning, 300,000 may die. Another 100,000 will be left homeless.
Then what difference can I make? They will be homeless. And even if the governors agree, is there time to get word to the cities?
They will be alive, Jason. And yes, there is time, if they act promptly.
As the conversation ends, Aliana pulls Jason's lips to hers, then looks into his eyes.
What is it?
Jason motions to the soldiers on the opposite bank of the river.
These are not our enemies. They are but soldiers carrying out their duties. Our enemies are the governors of their cities, but all you see before you and most of their wives and children will die before noon tomorrow.
Jason explains the tremendous earthquake that will take place in the Atlantia. In detail, he tells her what an undersea earthquake can do to the waters around it, the 100-foot tsunami that would be created, and the 60-foot tidal bore that would roar up the River Rhone, destroying not only the soldiers before them, but their cities as well. Aliana stands in stunned silence.
What of Beth? Can she not help?
He shakes his head no. Several seconds pass. Then a glowing smile comes to her face.
Can I speak with Beth?
Of course.
He pulls his helmet against hers.
Beth?
Yes, Aliana?
If Jason and I can convince the soldiers to return to the city, will you stop the flood?
As I told Jason, I cannot stop the flood.
Yes. Yes, you can.
There is no way. The quake will begin soon, and neither I nor Uriah can stop it.
I didn't ask you to stop the earthquake. I asked you to stop the flood.
How? How can I stop a 60-foot-high, half-mile-wide wall of water that is 10 miles long?
Will you stop it if you can?
Yes, if I can, I will.
You can.
How, Princess? How can she stop the flood?
Aliana smiles, kisses Jason softly, then puts her helmet back against his.
Beth, how powerful are the blue lights you destroyed the pyramid with? The ones that placed the crater around Aliquin?
Very powerful. You have seen what they are capable of.
For how long can you maintain this weapon? Is its power without limits? If I shoot an arrow, I replace it with another, but eventually my quiver will be empty. What of your weapon? Is its power without limit?
I can maintain the force used at Aliquin for 23 minutes 16 seconds. Then I must recharge for 10 minutes and 43 seconds.
How long would it take for you to make an 80-mile-long crater twice as deep and twice as wide as the one at Aliquin?
3 hours, 14 minutes, and 5 seconds.
Would such a crater hold the floodwaters?
Not even half of it.
Not even if you aim your weapons at such an angle that the debris lands over the western banks of the river, and when you are finished, what you're really doing is building the western riverbank to the same height as the eastern?
Beth is at a loss for words.
And while you're at it, can you use your weapon to cut into the South Urales Mountains, beginning where the natural bridge now ends, and extend the bridge to compensate for the new banks?
Yes, I can do all you ask. Jason, you have found one heck of a woman.
Then Beth's voice grows solemn.
You have found a way to save the cities, Aliana. But what about the soldiers? If they do not retreat from the riverbanks, it would be me that destroys them instead of the river.
Trust us, Beth. Jason will convince them to return to their homes.
Jason pulls her to him for a long kiss.
Thank you. You have given us a way to save these people.
Damien shouts in warning.
Rider crossing the bridge!
A lone rider, white flag hoisted high, crosses a bridge. Jason, Aliana, Damien, and Alan wait at the end. The rider dismounts and salutes.
Greetings, Prophet of Jeriah. I am Warren, second in command of the army Arapache. Mordecai sent me to you with this message. He and the other governors will meet you in the center of the bridge at daybreak. You are to come alone except for the soldier Aliana. If you refuse, you are not to ask for another meeting. There will be none.
Jason does not hesitate in his answer.
Tell Mordecai I agree.
Damien and Alan shout in unison.
No!
Then look at each other in dismay. Damien turns to Jason.
Mordecai is looking for a chance to kill you, hoping that without you, our armies will return to their homelands. He can't be trusted.
I know that, but this may be our only chance. I'll explain later why I say this.
Damien shrugs and looks at Alan.
I don't like it, but I guess the prophet knows best.
Whatever happens, the troops must be moved 200 yards from the river at sunrise.
Alan and Damien bid farewell as Aliana and Jason prepare to enter the bridge. Jason smiles and winks at Aliana.
Ready?
As ready as I'll ever be.
They enter the bridge as a group of 5 riders enter from the opposite side. Katrin moves cautiously in front of them. A few feet onto the bridge, Beth calls to Jason.
Be very careful. Never turn your back to them. At the first sign of hostility, Mordecai and his friends will cease to exist. But you know that although my reaction time is virtually 0, the time required for the image to reach me and the laser to reach them would be several seconds. Not quick enough to protect you.
I know, Beth. We'll be very careful.
They reach the center of the bridge and stop. As Mordecai and the governors reach them, Jason motions for Aliana to move behind him. She does as instructed. Katrin paces in the front, low growls coming from her throat. Mordecai looks intently at Jason, then salutes. The salute is not returned.
You know why we are here, Mordecai. You know my conditions, and you know what will happen if they are not met.
He swings his right arm in a wide expanse as he turns to face the western banks.
Look, Prophet. Our forces seem evenly matched. How do you propose to cross the river to attack us? These soldiers of yours, can they fly? Or do you propose to dam the river with their bodies, as our archers kill them, one by one, as they cross the bridge?
Mordecai turns to the governors behind him and snickers. They join him and laugh. Jason is enraged.
You saw the power of Jeriah to Aliquin. My messengers have warned you of the flood that will destroy 3 of the western cities. How can you laugh at the possible death of 300,000 men, women, and children?
Sobering and following the script he had rehearsed with the governors, Mordecai answers Jason.
You're right. I'm sorry. But what guarantee do I have that you will spare our lives?
The governors spike their alarm as Willem screams.
No, you can't do this.
Mordecai looks directly at him and winks.
But we must.
Mordecai turns back to Jason.
You have my word.
That's not enough. We need more.
There is no more.
There is more. Give us a woman as a token of good faith. If your God is as powerful as you say, and there is a flood, and she protects us from it, we will lay down our arms and surrender to you.
No!
Katrin roars and moves suddenly toward Mordecai, ready to leap.
Katrin, no!
Katrin slowly backs off. Mordecai's eyes are wide in fear. Willem has armed his bow and has raised it.
Tell your friend to put his weapon away. The tiger will do no harm unless further provoked.
Mordecai looks at Willem, who disarms his bow.
As I was saying, Prophet, give us the girl and avoid this war.
I said no.
Then this meeting is at an end.
He turns to the governors and motions for them to leave the bridge. He follows close behind. Aliana quickly pulls her cantera beside Jason's.
We must do as he says.
We can't. I won't put you in that danger.
But we must. Otherwise, thousands upon thousands will die. He won't harm me. He won't dare bring down the wrath of Jeriah.
He doesn't even believe in Jeriah. No, I can't let you do this.
And what of the cities to the west? What of the soldiers looking at us now and their families? Can we sentence them to a certain death?
There are tears in the corners of Jason's eyes.
I'll be all right. I promise.
Jason turns and calls to Mordek.
We agreed to your demands, but only if you agreed to lay down your arms before you return to your cities.
Mordek rains his cantera and turns and smiles.
Of course. I thought that is what I said.
Aliena leans and kisses Jason, then forces a smile as she turns to ride to Mordek. Jason calls to Mordek.
If she is harmed in any way, there will be no safe haven for you on Terratoo. I will find you wherever you are.
Mordek laughs.
Don't worry, Prophet. No harm will come to her.
As Aliena approaches, Mordek motions for her to join the governors. As she rides past Willem, he grabs her and drags her to his saddle, his dagger drawn a drop of blood as he presses it to her throat. Jason quickly pulls his dagger, but can't fire the laser as Willem holds Aliena directly behind Mordek and the other governors are in line with him. Katrin roars. On a run, she lunges for the arm holding the dagger to Aliena. An arrow pierces her breast as she leaves the ground. Stopped in midair, she hits Willem's cantera on the forelegs, then falls to the ground. Aliena, crying, struggles to free herself, but the dagger against her throat presses deeper and her struggles stop. Her tears do not. Mordek smiles in contempt.
Drop your weapon, Prophet, or the woman dies.
Do as he says. I cannot help with all of you being so close together. Find out what his intentions are. When the opportunity comes, he will become part of the past.
Drop the weapon.
There is no way Jason will allow Mordek to possess the weapon. In rage, he swings his arm wide and the dagger plummets off the bridge into the water below. Mordek, unaware of the power of the dagger, smiles.
Drop all your weapons and join us. We have much to talk about.
Don't do it, Jason. These Zephyrs won't be so smug when Jeriah reaps her vengeance on them.
William's dagger again presses hard on Aliena's neck as a trickle of blood runs from the wound. Jason lays down his arms and rides to Mordek, extreme anger on his face. Jason stops when he reaches Mordek.
Tell your pig of a friend to take his blade from her throat, now.
Willem lowers his dagger, but keeps it against Aliena's stomach.
What do you hope to gain? You have made more than one enemy today.
Ha! What do I hope to gain? Everything, Prophet. You and I are going to be partners. I will not only rule Aliquin, but all of Terratoo, and you are going to help me.
Jason shakes his head.
What a fool! Do you not realize the moment you are 10 feet away from me and Aliena, you will die? Jeriah is biding her time, and if you are foolish enough to kill either of us, she will kill you in a heartbeat.
Whether I'm a fool or not remains to be seen. But this I know. This god of yours doesn't exist. Why has no one ever heard of her before? I'll tell you why. There is no Jeriah, and you are no prophet. You're one of the colonists. I don't know how, and I don't know why you came to be here, but I know you possess or somehow control powerful weapons. And you will share these weapons with me, or both of you will suffer pain you could never imagine.
Jason looks at Aliena. Aliena looks at the lifeless form on the bridge as she cries.
Katrin, thank you, my friend. If only you could have known that I'll be all right, that Jeriah will protect me. Perhaps you would still be alive.
Chapter 15. Damien and Alan had called their troops to the alert when they saw Aliena jerk from her cantera. They remained at the entrance to the bridge awaiting a signal from Jason, but none came. When the riders left the bridge, Alan took troops and a litter to retrieve Katrin. Reaching her, he felt her neck for a pulse. It was there, but very weak. The arrow had pierced her chest very deeply. He instructed his men to carry her to his tent, then returned to Damien. They watched as the soldiers from the western cities left the banks of the river, leaving but a few to act as messengers should the army of Jeriah decide to pursue. Mordek rides with Jason and Aliana on either side, bound by tethers to her cantera. He knows from his studies the colonists had come to Terratoo on a vessel that traveled through the stars, and they possessed powerful weapons. Other than that, he knew very little. All the records the colonists had brought with them had been destroyed in the wars between the cities. All he knew was based on legends. He wanted to know more. Soon he would know all there was to know. He had captured a colonist, and soon he would possess the weapons. Later, as they ride across the plain, Jason becomes aware of Aliana's gaze. Looking at her, he is caught by surprise by the look on her face. She seems to be happy.
Mordek!
Mordek, shaken from his revelry of world domination, turns to her and angrily answers.
What?
We need go no further. Why not camp here tonight and wait for the mighty display of power Jeriah will use to stop the flooding waters of the Rhone?
Mordek laughs softly, then shakes his head in wonder.
You really believe in this God, don't you? Woman, soldier that you are, how can you really be so stupid? Do you really not know who this man is that claims to be a prophet?
Aliana frowns and looks at the ground for a moment. She raises her eyes to look sheepishly back at him.
But what if Jason speaks the truth? What if there is a flood and Jeriah lets us all drown because she is mad at you?
Mordek's anger rises.
Then what possible difference will it make if we stop here or go on?
Aliana looks at Mordek much as a trusting child might look at her father.
Because if we stop, it will mean we believe in her. It will mean we trust her. If we show we trust her, she will not harm us.
Mordek shakes his head in wonder.
Oh well, why not? It's getting late anyway. We'll make camp here for the night.
As Mordek calls for his men to make camp, Aliana smiles at Jason, then winks. There is a confused look on Jason's face as he winks back. The camp is set up. Night falls. The tent Jason is in is large. 2 guards stand duty at the doorway. Jason is tethered by a 5-foot rope tied around his ankles to Mordek's waist. His hands are tied behind his back. Mordek begins to snore. Jason whispers,
Beth?
Almost instantly, a sword point is at his neck.
Silence!
Jason nods and the guard returns to his position.
Don't worry, Jason. They're in control now, but that control will be short-lived. You need to rest. There is nothing we can do until morning.
In the tent beside Jason's, Aliana lies on her sleeping mat. 4 guards stand nearby. She is a little dismayed that Jason seems to only believe in Beth and the powers of the Outreach One and not in Jeriah. She, on the other hand, has come to believe deeply in the new God. She feels her presence even now. She had felt it when she persuaded Beth to stop the floodwaters, and she had felt it when she persuaded Mordek to camp here. She knows she will be separated from Jason come morning. A feeling of tranquility engulfs her, and she knows they will be reunited again soon. Flashes of lightning can be seen through the open door to the tent. The roll of distant thunder is soon heard. In minutes, a violent storm engulfs the camp. Raging winds threaten to tear the tents from their moorings as massive torrents of rain and hail drive the sentry soldiers into their tents to seek refuge. Many of the tents collapse, but the soldiers remain inside. The guards in Aliana's tent struggle to close the flap to the tent, straining against the wind. The candles inside are extinguished by the wind. Aliana listens as the guards talk anxiously among themselves. She smiles and whispers softly.
Thank you.
In seconds, she is fast asleep. Amid the noise of the storm, Jason calls to Beth.
Lost your touch for weather forecasting? Or maybe you just thought a person could sleep through this racket?
I really can't explain this. No, I did not anticipate this storm. The air across the plains is dry, and the barometric pressure is normal. The only thing that is not normal is the storm, which covers but a 5-mile diameter, and you're in the center of it.
The storm rages through the night. Many soldiers abandon their army in fear and return through the storm to their cities. By daybreak, less than half will remain. As the storm begins, Alan sits at the edge of the cliff to the river, deep in thought. In the distance, he sees the lightning and darkness of the storm in the full moon of Andros. He is startled by a high-pitched humming sound that comes from the east, passes overhead, and is quickly gone. He strains to see the source, finding a small, intense light passing through the sky. He returns to his candlelit tent. Katrin is lying on a mat on the floor. The arrow has been removed, but her breathing is shallow.
Strange creature, I hope for your return to health, but what good will it do you to be healthy if Aliena dies? She has been as a mother to you, as you have been a guardian daughter to her. I wish I had been on the bridge with you. I would have offered my life as freely as you offered yours to protect her. There are things more important than life, as you have proven.
Had the cryobot at the controls of the lander been designed with speech, and had Jason been riding along this night, he would have been astonished with Beth's new vocabulary. The cryobot had been designed with one function, and that function was not piloting this craft. The lander was severely affected by the sudden wind changes and updrafts that hit it as it entered the storm in ways Beth could not anticipate. Seeing the ground approaching rapidly on a few screen, she veers suddenly skyward to avoid crashing. She circles the lander for a second landing attempt, this one also unsuccessful. Her third attempt finally succeeds. The cryobot leaves the craft and starts her slow journey to find Jason. As the sun is rising, the cryobot is entering the camp of the Western armies. Sentries sound alarms. Soldiers leave their tents, swords drawn. Most stare in disbelief as the cryobot moves slowly through their midst. Some run away in fear. A few brave ones attack the cryobot, swords sparking and chipping as they bounce off the steel. They back off in fear as the cryobot continues through the camp. One soldier rushes forth, slashing his blade violently against the head of the cryobot. It stops. The soldier stares, then starts to laugh and dance. Soon, a celebration erupts in the camp. Then the soldier who had delivered the blow stops celebrating and walks back to the cryobot. He reaches to touch its arm. No response. He pushes on the chest. No response. He plants his feet and pushes with all his might. Suddenly, his hair stands on end and he begins to quiver violently as Beth releases a high-voltage charge on the cryobot's surface. Sparks arc from the hair on his head back to the cryobot. The sparks quit and he falls to the ground. The soldiers again back off in fear. Slowly shaking his head in wonder, the fallen soldier stands up and runs unsteadily away from the cryobot. Mordek pushes his way through the soldiers, Jason tethered close behind him. Mordek stares in wonder at the cryobot.
Is it dead?
A soldier in a commander's uniform answers.
No, sire. It appears to have stopped on its own accord.
Beth?
Good morning, Jason. I hope you slept well.
What the hell are you doing here? You trying to get me killed?
No answer. Jason lowers his voice.
I'm sorry, Beth. I didn't mean to scream at you. What can you possibly hope to do?
Long moments pass with no reply. Mordek looks from Jason to the cryobot and back. Jason lowers his voice even more.
I'm sorry, Beth. I really am, but there really is nothing you can do. You have no weapons, and Mordek will not just let me go.
I'm sorry if I have caused you any additional stress. I just couldn't stand it anymore, being so far away from you and so totally helpless. Besides, I wanted to see the fireworks from a Terratoo point of view.
Fireworks?
Yes, in less than 10 minutes, I will start to widen the River Rhone. It should be quite a sight from here.
With fear in his eyes, Mordek demands,
Who or what is this?
Just a friend of mine.
Tell it to leave.
Jason smiles.
I can't do that. I'm afraid she has a mind of her own. And at this particular moment in time, she appears to want to be right here.
Mordek thinks for a moment.
Then we will remove it.
He turns to the commander he had previously spoken to.
Get a strong rope and an able rider, and remove this contraption from the camp.
The commander hurries to do as he is told. In moments, he returns on a cantera, a lasso-like rope by his side. He deftly throws the rope, the noose landing over the cryobot's head and on his shoulder. He wraps the rope around his saddle horn and begins to back away. As the rope tightens and it appears a cryobot will be dragged away, a small blue beam of light erupts from the eye of the machine. The center of the rope disappears in flame. The Cantera bolts in fear, its rider trying in vain to control it.
You've made a few improvements.
A few.
Mordek pulls his dagger and jumps behind Jason, swiftly placing the dagger at his throat.
Tell it to leave or die.
Tell her yourself. She's not going anywhere until she chooses. And rest assured, if I die, your death will follow in a heartbeat.
Mordek rages for a moment, then turns to his commander.
The girl! Take her to Palamas and wait for me there.
Let her go or die where you stand.
As you said, Prophet, if I die, so will you.
4 miles distant, the blue lights descend from the heavens, laying down a continuous path along the western bank of the river. The army of Jiraiya quickly move even further away to escape the tremendous noise of millions of tons of dirt and rock being excavated to form a new western bank of the river. Most of the western army panic and run in fear. A commander beside Mordek speaks nervously.
My lord, we should leave this place.
Bring my Cantera and one for the Prophet.
Soon they are mounted, with Mordek holding Jason's tether and shielding himself from the cryobot by keeping Jason between them. As they ride off,
Wish I could ride.
My beautiful friend, you have ridden the stars. What possible obstacle could the plain of Albuquerque be?
as Mordek and Jason fade in the distance, the cryobot turns toward the river. End of chapter 15.